Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The State of It. The State of It. The State of your wrestling address. Every single Thursday or Friday, without fail. I say Thursday or Friday because obviously pandemic has got us all over the place. But every single Thursday or Friday, every week, we bring you a State of Wrestling address. What the State of Wrestling address is, you ask? Well, let me tell you, as you have so kindly asked. Although you're probably not asking, you're just thinking it. Ultimately, the State of Wrestling Address is a podcast where every single week, myself, Aaron Nix, the harbinger and host of professional wrestling, aka the Wrestle Plug, will sit down with friends, or maybe by myself if I'm feeling particularly lonely, and we shall discuss the news of the week, and maybe a few cheeky reviews as well. But now that the YouTube is kicking in, guys, we thought that you guys would like to hear us just chat about the news in general. So head on over to our YouTube channel, click like, subscribe, all that nonsense. If you want to hear us doing the latest reviews, we always cover Raw, SmackDown, AEW Dynamite. We're going to start trying to do NXT as well. That is obviously dependent on whether people like Jay Miller can get off his lazy fat ass. But ultimately, it is what it is. But I do have a co-host for today, so we can chat about this week's wrestling news. And he comes in the glorious shape of Canada's favourite cleaner, Kyle Wilkinson.
Ooh, moving up in the world. Hell yeah.
Rank numero uno. Kyle Wilkinson, it's him on.
Oh man, I'd love to have a New Japan ref just announce my name. That'd be the best.
Well, we can give you the second best thing here. So next time you're on a podcast, I'll give you the New Japan experience that I gave to so many of our podcast hosting alumni. I include Nick Payne in that because the chances Nick Payne ever returns to the podcast that guy, right? Yeah, boo this man. He has brought shame and dishonor on everyone's cows, let alone his own. But yeah, there are some juicy little topics to talk about this week in the wrestling news. Brief ones as they are. Let's start with the fact that Jake Roberts is currently, can you believe it, self-quarantined courtesy of COVID-19. So this is, I mean, it's not so much news as it is just a little talking point, but this gives you an idea of how passionate Jake Roberts is on the wrestling business. Now, obviously, people will know that Jake Roberts has been appearing in All Elite Wrestling recently as the manager of the almighty Everybody Dies, Lance Archer. So he actually had a chance to sit down and chat with Wrestling Inc.'s podcast, and I thought it was worth a little bit of a quick cheeky natter. Just as Jake the Snake Roberts revealed Lance Archer as his new client in AEW, the coronavirus pandemic swept across the nation. He discussed these extraordinary times on the Wrestling Inc. Daily Podcast, which of course you can check out in full via all forms of social media. We've all got to pull together. It really chaps my ass. I'm not going to say it in his voice, although I can imagine it in his voice. It really chaps my ass to see people not paying attention to what they're asking us to do, and they're doing the same old thing they always do. It shows you how selfish some people can be, said Roberts. They're going to cause this thing to last longer than it should if we just do the right thing now. People like that should be arrested and put in jail. Amen, sir. Amen. He said it was odd, but not that odd, in reference to the fact that he had obviously become involved and also working in front of empty crowds, because, you know, Jake Roberts, of course, worked in some of the biggest crowds ever at Wrestlemania. It was odd, but not that odd. Back in the beginning, when I started wrestling, I went to a few places where there weren't many people in the crowd. I went to Japan one time where I wrestled in front of 12 people. It's tough on the athlete because you don't get to feed off the fans and get the energy off them. It's just one of those things that AEW was trying to go a little further with. But now they realise that they can't do this and they're going to shut it down for a while, hence, you know, referring to the fact that AEW is going to be recording these very minimised shows like we got last week for AEW Dynamite. He pointed out the fact that he was also quarantined in an Atlanta hotel room, so the poor man doesn't even get to be at home at this point. He said, I'm quarantined in here. I was living with Diamond Dallas Page, and he was one of the first people to say, if you leave, you can't come back. AEW wanted me to come out, so I went and did it, but I couldn't go back to Dallas's house, Dave Roberts. He had a baby in the house, and nobody needs to be sick around a baby. He took the hard line and said, dude, if you leave, you can't come back. But I had to do it for AEW, as I want to help these guys. Now I'm paying for it, brother. Roberts says he has to stay there for 3 to 4 more weeks. He upgraded to a larger room that has a track, where if he does a loop around, it's 28 steps. So Jake Roberts, the legend himself, the snake, self-quarantined in a hotel room in Atlanta for the sake of his own craft. So AEW fans out there really, really need to think about getting in contact with Jay Roberts however way possible and sending their appreciation and love to him, because he took a big risk stepping away from the comfort zone is DDP's house and his sanctuary. As we know, it's a place where so many wrestlers go to improve and rehab and save their lives in a lot of people's cases, especially someone like Jake Roberts or Scott Hall. There's numerous guys who are involved. Even Bobby Fish recently has been taking the advice and getting involved with DDP Yoga to help rehab his ACL injury. Yeah, I just thought it was worth a mention. Jake Roberts, still at this age, working hard and trying to give something back to wrestling.
Absolutely. I mean, the man is a legend. That's undisputed. Haha, Bobby Fish. You see what I did there? Haha. But sounds like a 70s porn theme, and it's still the best, but
Yeah, it does.
But Jake Roberts, like, he never won a world title, which I still think is a shame. But he's still one of the best that's ever done it. He's got to be like his late 50s, early 60s now. I'm not 100% sure how old the man is, but, you know, he's old.
To the Google.
So, I mean, going out in this pandemic is brave enough as it is. It shows his dedication to his craft by, you know, sorry, Dallas, I love your house. I love what you've done for my life, but AEW needs me. So I'm going to put on my superhero cape, which is actually just like a snake boa, and I'm going to go do that. And absolutely, I think he has Twitter. Yeah, you guys should definitely get a hold of him. I think it's like Jake Snake DDT or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me, but yeah, thank him. And yeah, that's fantastic. Other than the being in a hotel room for at least a month now, 3 to 4 weeks plus the time he's probably already been there. Yeah, he's gonna be stuck in this little dinky room for a while. So send your damn thanks.
Yes, Jake Roberts is 64 years old. Fucking impressive,
64?
64, and he's born in 1955 was Jake Snake Roberts. Yes, indeed. Boy, do I feel old now. Oh, dear. I feel 30 years older than me. Yeah, no, just in awe, really, that a guy at 64 can show that level of passion. I hope I still have that level of passion for wrestling at that age, because that is just utterly phenomenal when you consider everything he's gone through as well. The fact that he can even be asked to get out of bed and contribute so much to the wrestling business is astonishing. Someone who's a lot younger in the wrestling business, Angelina Love, has re-signed with Ring of Honor, signed a new contract extension, I believe, today. She said, "I'm extremely happy to have re-signed with Ring of Honor. I'm very happy working here and look forward to continuing to take the women's division to new heights this year and beyond. The allure will continue to dominate. Just watch." We're hoping that Ring of Honor is going to have a bit of a resurgence with Marty Scurll working as one of the head bookers now, having such a vital say now, from what I can tell, in the genuine working parts of Ring of Honor, although ultimately it all falls to Sinclair, who have proven themselves to be nothing but scum at the best of times. But Angelina Love re-signing is a statement of intent, because obviously with all the issues that were going on previously, I believe, was it Kelly Klein involved, where they released her while she was injured?
I believe so, yes. I believe it was Kelly Klein.
It was a very messy situation, that was, and frankly made the company look like a piece of shit. So Angelina Love re-signing would probably insinuate, it's just obviously us throwing out conjecture, but it would insinuate that there seems to be brighter times ahead, particularly for female talents, and the respect that is afforded female talents, of course. Angelina Love is part of Allure with the scintillating Velvet Sky and Mandy Leon. There's a trio that you certainly would like to run into in any format, never mind a dark alley. That sounded much more rapey than it needed to be, and I apologise profusely. But either way, they're incredibly good company. And Ring of Honor with a statement of intent there. Just quickly, any thoughts on that? Or does it give you any interest, really, in checking out Ring of Honor's women's division more? Because let's be honest, it's been pretty lackluster up until now.
Absolutely it has. I mean, Angelina Love played a huge part in the early days of the TNA Knockouts division. Like the Beautiful People, they were an integral part of making women's wrestling more popular. You know, TNA was doing it long before WWE does, and if anyone tries to argue me that at whatever, I don't even know what my Twitter handle is. I get tagged all the time, but it doesn't matter, because come at me and I will fight you.
X_Wilkinson.
Yeah, that's it. I knew that. But we won't fight, but I will give you a stern lesson in the history of women's wrestling. Everyone knows this podcast is 100% behind women's wrestling. They always have been, and I would now say we always will be, because I like to consider myself not an integral part, but at least welcome on a semi-weekly basis.
Part of the family.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend. And yes, she played a huge part in that. You know, her, Gail Kim, ODB, Awesome Kong, all of them played a huge part in this. So hopefully she can take all that experience, all that pizzazz, and with Marty Scurll at the helm, because we all trust in the villain, I think I would actually give Ring of Honor a watch, because it's never something I've watched often, because I just heard really bad things. You know, I know a bunch of the indie darlings in WWE came from Ring of Honor, or at least spent some time there, and that's fine. But one wrestler does not a company make. So maybe with this, it'll at least increase my interest in the product, and hopefully it won't be total trash like it apparently has been these last couple of years.
Somebody who has had some interesting thoughts on the past weekend's WrestleMania shenanigans. Of course, this is our first opportunity to chat about wrestling since the insane weekend of WrestleMania, and of course Raw, the follow-up from that as well. Bully Ray Dudley has had plenty to say about the gimmick matches, and quite favourably as well, which is a surprise. You'd think that maybe he would want to go down the other route, but nobody wants to upset The Undertaker, really, do they? Let's be honest. If you have any self-respect in this business, then you will fucking respect The Undertaker. It just is what it is. The man has an astonishing amount of clout at this point. But to his credit, he had some very interesting things to say, and he seemed to echo the sentiment of a lot of people. Now, obviously, these matches, the Firefly Funhouse and the Boneyard match, were incredibly polarizing, but Bully Ray Dudley, very excitable in his comments about everything. He said, I don't know what I watched. It was so trippy when he was speaking on the bump for WWE. He said, I went on social media and said, I don't know what I saw, but I know I liked it and I know I was entertained by it. I didn't get it at first. I kind of got it, but it was one of the only things I can remember in my career where I actually had to go back and watch it again to completely understand the story that was told, or what Bray was trying to project to the people, I guess. And you guys can help me out here. Bray or The Fiend, maybe John Cena face all of his fears, excuse me. Yes, no, maybe. The creativity was amazing, like whoever's mind, and I think it was The Fiend's. I think he's the evil mastermind behind what we saw. Obviously, he's the evil mastermind. That was such an out-of-the-box creativity moment that even if I were to have hated the premise, I would have had to love the creativity and the effort. Those guys went way outside of the box, and I liked it. He also spoke about the Boneyard match. He said Rhea Ripley and Charlotte was his favourite match. However, AJ versus Undertaker was his favourite spectacle, my favourite production, my favourite, part of the two nights, Dudley announced. Man, how could you not have liked it? Once again, it was outside of the box. It had a different sense of thinking. We got the Dead Man, we got Big Evil, we got the American Badass. Right in the beginning, there was a hell of a swerve of AJ popping out of the coffin. I'll tell you guys, I texted AJ after this was all over. As you know, I've had history of AJ from previous companies that we worked in. I flat out told him that this was the greatest thing I'd ever seen you involved in, and it didn't include one wrestling move. Wrestling moves didn't matter. It was all about the storytelling and the spectacle. I've never been more emotionally invested in AJ Styles as I was at that moment. AJ Styles getting a lot of high praise from professionals, but not so much people outside of the industry, I've noticed, simply because it's all about The Undertaker, isn't it? But we forget just how important, obviously, we've spoken about this, and if you check out YouTube, which you should have by now, for our cheeky little rest in peace moment with AJ Styles and beyond, and of course a full animation review of the Boneyard match, which you absolutely should check out on YouTube. You'll know that obviously we've already sung the praises.
Check it out now.
Do it now, subscribe. Yeah, we've already sung the praises of it, but it is nice to hear that fellow professionals, especially some more ardent and much more inflammatory ones like Bully Ray, even they know where quality lies.
Yeah, that surprised me because Bully Ray he's always been very outspoken about what he likes and doesn't like. He has no qualms saying it, and he will punch you in the face through a computer if you disagree because he just doesn't give a shit. So it surprises me that he liked all those. He likes both of those matches, but it's a pleasant surprise, you know. It's let's be honest, his work, other than maybe like the TLC matches and his title run in TNA, you know, that would be the best stuff he's ever done. He's never really done huge carny bullcrap like this. So I'm glad to see he appreciates it. And hey, if he wants to see more of it, it can't be a bad thing.
Moving on to more serious kayfabe news. As noted earlier today, WWE NXT General Manager William Regal appeared on the bump, and he announced that they will be holding a tournament soon to crown an interim, that's a very important word there, NXT Cruiserweight Champion, because current champion Jordan Devlin, is stuck in the UK, unable to defend his title on NXT TV. I should also point out that Ireland is not part of the UK, numbnuts. You should know that better than anybody else. Unless he's actually in London, in which case, Jordan Devlin, hit us up, mate. Yeah, you're more than welcome to come on a podcast. He took to Twitter as well, Jordan Devlin, to mention, I assume in character, how disrespectful a decision it was. He said, first things first, absolutely shocking and disrespectful decision by WWE management. Secondly, you can crown a fraud champion and give him a little replica of my title, but everyone around the world knows who the real NXT Cruiserweight Champion still is. What do you think about WWE isolating the NXT Cruiserweight Championship in this manner? Because if we remove kayfabe from it, Jordan Devlin's not going to lose the Cruiserweight title. I was a little bit guilty of jumping on the bandwagon too quickly and not paying attention. You know, classic emotional Nicks getting involved. But I got to say, even though it's interim, this is a little bit funny because what you've done is you've isolated Jordan Devlin. You said, right, Jordan Devlin's abroad, so we can't have him appear on NXT as the Cruiserweight Champion or 205 Live. So therefore, we're going to crown an interim until this stuff is over. Basically, in one way or another, however you look at it, it feels like Jordan Devlin is being penalised a little bit for not being available to work within the United States. When you have a multitude of WWE contracted or WWE associated wrestlers who actually live over here, aka NXT UK, who could quite easily fill a gap. My suggestion was that they could film a number of matches with Jordan Devlin wrestling, you know, I don't know, Flash Morgan Webster or Wild Boar, any number of these guys, you know, Tyler Bate or Trent Seven, whoever's available in the UK. And then it can't be that hard with the amount of resources they have to then find this footage and send it back to America and then splice it in with the rest. It's an empty arena after all, so it's not like you got to worry about the continuity. Maybe you could say that, you know, I don't know, halfway through NXT, Byron Saxton or whoever it is, not Byron Saxton, Mauro Ranallo, whoever's involved in commentary at the moment, could just stand up and say, ladies and gentlemen, you know, we've been talking about the Cruiserweight title and the discussion of it. Well, earlier today, Jordan Devlin had a chance to show the world what he, you know, believes he is to be, and he defended the title against insert a wrestler here. You know, here's footage from that match right now. Or, you know, anything. There are a multitude of ways of getting around this. But what seems strange is the fact they've isolated Jordan Devlin and not mentioned, you know, someone like Pete Dunne, for instance, who's currently in the UK as well, who I imagine is separated from his tag team partner, Matt Riddle, part of the NXT Tag Team Championships, which I imagine in the pecking order of things is probably ever so slightly higher than the Cruiserweight title, although ultimately anything Jordan Devlin holds makes it very, very important in my eyes. Do you feel that WWE have made the right decision here, or do you feel like this is a slap in the face to Jordan Devlin, and more importantly, to Jordan Devlin's kind of legacy as that champion?
On the one hand, I do kind of understand it. I mean, do you remember the times when if a champion couldn't defend his title after 30 days, he was stripped? That rule hasn't applied in decades. If it had, you know, Lesnar wouldn't be champion. Goldberg wouldn't be champion. So, that being said, I think it's a load of shit. I love Jordan Devlin. I was actually, he was going to be at a weekend of Destiny wrestling shows that I was going to. It was back in mid-March that I was going to see him. Like, I was going to drive like 5 hours from my home to see him and then back down to Toronto. Like, it would have been a whole weekend just hanging out with the Irish Ace and British Strong Style. But I'm getting carried away and sad. The point is, this is bullshit. You could absolutely have him wrestle in the NXT UK arena and they can just splice it into NXT TV. There's no reason not to. I mean, I'm 100% sure Pete Dunne is probably back over there in the UK, because he has a young daughter. So there's no way he would have stayed here, and he would go home and isolate to make sure his baby's okay. You can't just... I know they're not stripping him of the title per se. They're having the interim champion, so whenever this is all over, they'll have some sort of unification match. Fine. I'm sure whoever they choose will have a great match with Devlin because he has a great match with everyone. But that being said, you don't just go, hey, you're across the ocean? Well, sorry, buddy, we're going to crown a champion while you're not here. Thumbs up, smile with a ding. Fuck right off. That's not fair. I think it will absolutely tarnish this reign. And I know that the pandemic in general is going to do that to a lot of people. But this in particular seems like a swift kick in the dick.
Leaves a bit taste in my mouth because from a kayfabe standpoint it's fine, I understand, and like you say, I do try and play devil's advocate, and I understand why WWE would make a decision like this. However, like I said, first of all, you have a WWE Performance Center in the United Kingdom, albeit not nearly as nice as the Florida one, from what I've heard and from people who have been inside. Still, it is a performance center. It has everything that you could ever need to put on a small wrestling show, and right now that is all you need, is a small wrestling show. So, and there's also a multitude of people available, especially in the United Kingdom, who could easily put on a world-class match with Jordan Devlin, absolutely. So there's no excuse there. But what really is sort of sticking in me is the fact that you have had a multitude of championships in WWE, and predominantly the Universal and WWE Championship, which at one point or another have been completely disregarded and disrespected by the individuals that carry them. You know, don't get me wrong, I love Brock Lesnar, but don't sit there and tell me that, oh, Jordan Devlin hasn't defended his Cruiserweight title in a while, so we're going to have a tournament to crown an interim champion. Okay, where was this passion for replacing the champion when Brock Lesnar wasn't on TV for 4 months despite being Universal Champion, or when Goldberg holds a belt and it doesn't fucking turn up for weeks on end? Where was this, you know, fervent passion for those guys? Oh wait, that's right, because those guys are roided monkeys that make far more money than Jordan Devlin, which is wrong within itself, but sadly a fact and a state of reality in wrestling. So those guys are completely immune to this sort of nonsense because they're big and they make more money, and ultimately I paid them lots of money. And let's be honest, Vince McMahon isn't going to upset Brock Lesnar, but he doesn't give a fuck about Jordan Devlin. Okay, you know, we don't fucking pull any opinions here. It is very evident that this roided livery gas bag, not Hulk Hogan, the other one, Vince McMahon, ultimately he doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself and who makes him money. And in his eyes, Jordan Devlin is some flappy little vanilla midget. Shut up. He doesn't give a shit about somebody like that. And whoever's in charge, what annoys me is I'm told Triple H is in charge. Well, if Triple H is in charge of NXT, this is a terrible decision. And surprise, surprise, Triple H making bad decisions. Nobody wants to go there, though, you see, because, oh, but I thought Triple H was a really good guy. Like, he gave us NXT. Triple H is going to save us from Vince, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Triple H has never, ever been in it for himself. Please go and see all of our Last Minute Mondays episodes to find out completely on the contrary what Triple H is all about. Fuck's sake, state of it. Go and watch the year of 2003 and tell me that Triple H is a wonderful human being. Idiots, the whole lot of them. You know, he is very creative and very smart and absolutely deserving of his position in the company. But don't tell me for 1 minute that this guy is holier than thou and is going to do what's best for us. No, he's not. He's going to do what's best for him and what he thinks is best for the cash flow. And sometimes that can be good. Sometimes that can make for a terrible spectacle. And I don't necessarily have a problem with an interim Cruiserweight champion, but what I do have a problem with is when you do not paint everybody with the same brush. That is the biggest issue here. There is a massive amount of double standards. There's a massive amount of contradictory explanations that need to be made. There's also, obviously, a humongous level of hypocrisy because, like I've said several times in this rant, people like Brock Lesnar, people like Goldberg, they are going to be entirely immune from this scenario. That's why it fucks me off. Not necessarily because they're having the interim tournament. Anything else to add, mate? Or should we move to the next topic?
Nah, I think we can move on. There's not much more to say other than, you know, we hope this pandemic is over soon and Jordan Devlin can take his rightful place at the top of the Cruiserweight mountain as the undisputed NXT Cruiserweight Champion.
As a quick aside, just from a creative standpoint, would very much like to see Leo Rush become interim champion again because, well, he's fucking fantastic. And also, I want to see Leo Rush versus Jordan Devlin in an Iron Man match. There you go. You can have that. Have you seen Tiger King yet, sir? Have you watched any of Tiger King on Netflix? Because I know everyone listening to this has.
I have. I actually finished it yesterday.
Congratulations!
What in the fuck did I watch?
Oh, my brain was melting throughout the whole process. It was absolutely astonishing. Well, you'll be pleasantly surprised to know that a bit of information about Mr. Joe Exotic has been dug up in reflection of his wrestling career.
Excuse me?
Yeah, so not directly as a wrestler, however, Joe has been compared to some wild pro wrestling characters, as you will know, as soon as the series dropped. Literally, as soon as I was watching it, I remember turning to my partner and saying, that person, that guy right there, is a perfect wrestling heel. He would be an amazing manager. And so it seems that there is some truth behind that as well. Vice reports that Joe Exotic, whose real name is Joseph Maldonado Passage, or Passage, regardless of how you want to look at it. And boy, there's some jokes I can make there, and I'm not going to. Actually, once held ambitions in the world of professional wrestling. Joe occasionally held wrestling shows at his GW Zoo in Wynwood, Oklahoma from 2014 to 2018 and served as a commentator on the shows. I must have these at all costs, by the way. Me and you are going to fucking watch these back, and we're going to review every single one of them for YouTube.
Oh my God, please.
These shows feature tigers, wolves, and fireworks. Joe's run in the world of professional wrestling reportedly began back in 2010 when he met Texas businessman and indie wrestling promoter Robert Langdon at a charity event the zoo hosted. Langdon currently runs Texoma Pro Wrestling, which was then known as NWA Texoma. The promotion once featured stars like the Viking Raiders, Shelton Benjamin, Lance Archer, and Sammy Guevara, among others. Langdon told Voice that he and Joe bonded over their ownership of exotic animals and decided it would be mutually beneficial for Joe to do commentary on NWA Texoma shows, then stream the shows on his Joe Exotic TV. Again, I absolutely must have my hands on these at all costs. Their friendship grew to the point where Langdon walked Joe down the aisle for his marriage to his fourth and current husband, Dylan Passage. Joe did NWA Texoma commentary for more than 3 years. His work on the shows included fundraising pleas for his zoo and TV time for his bizarre music videos. Joe knew nothing about wrestling, and we knew this, Langdon told Vice, adding that he paired Joe with two veteran announcers in a commentary booth. We spent a lot of money on the show to make sure Joe looked professional. There's a lot more here that I could get into. I could literally sit here and read this for hours, but it makes for a thrilling reading, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're going to dedicate a cheeky little YouTube video to it, so keep an eye on YouTube so that we can chat about this at great length, because this just sounds like gold. I don't know what really to ask you. I just wanted to share this story. I mean, obviously, we're going to cover it as soon as we can get our hands on all of that footage, because that will be gold. But tell you what, do you want to see Joe Exotic in your local promotion?
Well, I'm pretty sure he's in jail. So.
When he gets out, of course, because eventually we will find out that Karen Baskin is a fucking murderer.
I don't know. No one in that show seems like a good person. Not a single one. They're all scummy pieces of shit. Every single one. Except maybe Carol's current husband, that old guy, he seemed all right. But everyone else is just absolute fucking trash.
He was
American,
until he got
Southern trash. Oh my fucking God. I mean, if he came to a Destiny show, I mean, I'd get a picture just to say that I did.
Come on. Just think in the main event, Josh Alexander versus Marty Scurll. And then, who's that getting in the ring? It's Joe Exotic. And he hits Marty Scurll in the back of the head with a chair. Come on, you'd lose your shit. He grabs the microphone. You pieces of Canadian trash. Offer a tigers for every single one of you. It'd be fucking incredible. This is the I'll tell you what, he should have been in that. He should have been in that Firefly Funhouse. I want Joe Exotic to meet the Fiend.
I want Joe Exotic to meet, like, American Badass.
I reckon he could take it. Absolutely. He's old now. They're both in their 50s. Could be a knockout, drag-out fight. He probably just ended up kneecapping everybody out of sheer insanity. But man, Tiger King. I really want to just like talk about Tiger King now for the next half an hour. But yeah, the one overriding theme I got from that was that Carol Baskin is one murderous bitch, and she knows it too. She's just swanning around right now on her estate with all that sweet millionaire money, mate. Doesn't give a fucking shit about anyone's feelings. She definitely fed her husband to those tigers.
Yeah, I find it kind of hard to disagree. I mean, she doesn't play the victim very well. Like when she's like, Joe's harassing me, they're all psychotic. Every single one.
These are well-adjusted people. You're not understanding the plot line here. Joe Exotic, he's innocent. He has done nothing. Leave Joe alone.
No.
Phenomenal. He's gonna blow a gasket here. Come on, Joe Exotic, man. Legend. You can't tell me you weren't entertained though. Like out of all of them, Joe Exotic entertained the fuck out of us until it got super, super dark in the last couple of episodes. But up until that point, mate, absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. What if it had been, because there's that amazing photo of him with Jinder Mahal. Could you imagine if it was Jinder that he offered the money to? Maybe that's why Jinder hit the roids, because he wanted to get himself proper hench so that he could take out Carol Baskin and her Tigers single-handedly.
I mean, that would be fucking hilarious. But, oh man, bitch is crazy. My God. They're all fucking insane. Oh, it was brilliant. But it was it was almost like Firefly Funhouse brilliant. Like it's just so carny and stupid that you can't help but piss yourself until there's a murder for hire. That's kind of where you stop laughing and go, oh, that's a little messed up now, isn't it?
You want messed up? Because I got something good for you on the next news story. Are you ready for some even more hysterical carny nonsense? Joe Exotic being part of the NWA is good, but this is extra special, and I know you've already seen this. So former WWE superstar Hulk Hogan, brother, is known for ruffling feathers and getting under people's skin. Oh, I'm going to say it because I can't wait to hear people's opinions, and I want any excuse to trash this motherfucker. So he's known for ruffling feathers and getting under people's skin. He did it while performing as a professional wrestler, as an actor, and he's done it for years, sometimes while only on the cusp of the entertainment world. Most recently, Hulk Hogan, whose real name is Terry Bollea, lol, struck a strange chord by going public with a message about the coronavirus pandemic that counters many other views on the virus itself and the idea of vaccinations. Hulkster took to Instagram with a post featuring a picture of himself, obviously wearing a championship belt and his signature tearaway shirt, going into prayer hands mode next to the quote, I am that I am. The fact that the quote is attributed to Hulk Hogan instead of the book of Exodus from the Bible's Old Testament is worthy of its own commentary. But here's the paragraph in particular that many people put their hands up to their ears for. Maybe we don't need a vaccine. Maybe we need to take this time of isolation from the distractions of the world and have a personal revival where we focus on the only thing in the world that really matters, Jesus. Did you realise, Carl Wilkinson, that it's not all about anything else? By the way, the fact that he mentioned the plagues of Egypt, you can go fuck yourself coming after my people, Mr. Hogan. Yeah, you can check out the full transcription of all this on his Instagram if you so wish, if you're brave enough to follow that angry, leathery racist. What is really hilarious, more so, is the amount of his followers who think it's acceptable behaviour, who are willing to defend him at any cost, because Hulkamania's running wild, brother, as is Jesus Mania, a racist mania, Blackamania. He's off his nut at this point. The bags of coke that him and Randy Savage did together, and the times he spent with Ultimate Warrior with all them delicious roids, mate, he's lost his mind.
Mate, he never had a mind to fucking lose. Oh my God. I've seen the picture, and I've just seen random news sites and stuff going, breaking. Former wrestler Hulk Hogan thinks we don't need a vaccine. Okay, cool. So if I just get on my knees right now...
Kyle, is Jesus.
Yeah.
Just let Jesus in your heart, mate. Jesus will cure you of your diabetes. Did you know that?
Yeah. Oh, shit. I better, as the song says, let Jesus take the wheel. Yeah,
Jesus should be allowed to drive. I mean, at best, horse and cart.
until I take the wheel back and drive into a fucking telephone pole outside Hulk Hogan's house. Oh my god!
Breaking
This man's
news: angry Canadian
fucking
drives car into Hulk Hogan's house.
Hulk Hogan lives because of God. Oh my god! I can see the headlines now.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not a religious person, but I don't mind if people are. That's fine. If religion brings people happiness, it gives them reason to get up every day. That's fine. All the power to you. I'm not much of a religious guy, so I get up because I have to pee. You know, that's my reason to get up in the morning. I don't want to piss the bed. Sure, we all have our reasons. Faith is one thing. Blind faith is another. I think it's a combination of both blind faith and going a little senile. Because, Hulk, you're fucking dumb. There are thousands, tens of thousands of people that have died in just Italy alone, let alone worldwide. And you're telling us that we don't need a fucking vaccine and a medication for this? I dare you to go to your local supermarket and lick the fucking counter. Just go ahead. Go lick the fucking conveyor belt.
What says he doesn't already?
Oh, true. Okay, go mac on some random stranger. I don't know. Do something that would almost guarantee you getting the coronavirus. And you tell me that, if they have a cure, you go up to them and go, you know what? I don't need this, brother. I'm just going to pray to that God there, brother. He was on WWE Backlash one time, brother. I'll be fine, brother. And then he just starts stuttering because he doesn't have a brain anymore and it's going to explode and drip out of his nose. I don't understand even anti-vaxxers. That's a whole other thing we could talk about in a rant that I'll try and write some notes about later because those people are the worst and I hope they
Let's get after them on YouTube. Let's have the most polarizing podcast in history.
Oh, Christ. But I'm getting dumbfounded here. I'm running out of words to use because of how ridiculous it is. This is the single worst thing that's happened globally in years, and you're telling us we don't. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fair. Fuck me.
I had a great time with this. I love this.
I would push that man down a flight of stairs. I would push Hulk Hogan down a flight of stairs. I would. He probably lives in California somewhere. They gotta have like those stone stairs. Yeah, those stone stairs that go down to a beach. I want him to be standing at the top of the stairs, looking over the beach, going brother, and then I want to take a title belt and smash him at the base of the neck, right where the neck and the shoulders meet. And I just want to smash him there, and I want him to fall down those stairs all the way down. And if he's not dead, I'm gonna throw him in the ocean. I don't care what I need to do.
He's from Florida, so he's naturally designed, I imagine, to float. I don't know if he's actually from Florida. That is just
he's such a fucking windbag. He might float. So I just gotta puncture his lungs.
Just the
oh my
god!
God.
Lob him in the sea, and he's floating, going, "You can't pin me, brother. I can't be drowned, brother. I kick out a tooth for the ocean, brother. Oh, brother."
Can't keep me down, brother.
This is what happens. This is what happens, right? Do you know why he said Jesus and not God? Because Jesus, he believes he owns. He's like, Jesus came up to me, and I kicked out of one, brother. Got the shoulder up. Jesus tried to drop the leg. Oh, brother. Way before I managed to slam Andre the Giant, Jesus came up to me. He was like, let me cure you. And I said, absolutely not, brother. Kicked out of one, gave him the big scoop slam, give him the old leg drop. Boom, 1, 2, 3. I'm now the Christ champion. Yeah, brother. He's off his nut. Honestly, people are like furious as well, aren't they? Like, how dare you disrespect people? I mean, it is, for all intents and purposes, an incredibly insensitive time to make fucking ridiculous statements, but we're not going to fucking go down that route of being uber leftist and offended by everything. We're just going to laugh at him because he's an idiot. It's,
I apologize. I got a little upset there.
No, not at all. I mean, I'm more than
fucking
grateful
twat.
for you. I mean, I'm all for, attempted murder of Hulk Hogan. But ultimately...
there's going to be no attempt about it. If I'm going to do it, I'll go to jail for it.
Sheer determination and sheer will. You have the nerve to critique my boy Joe Exotic when you are absolutely... See, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Get the feds on Carl Wilkinson, because he's going to be next. You and Joe Exotic sharing a cell, talking about that time he tried to take out Carol Baskin and Hulk Hogan, brother.
Man, good thing I have excellent control of my sphincter muscles.
That's That's going to come in handy, I'd imagine. But yeah, getting away from that, getting away from one brown ring piece to another, let's continue to talk about Hulk Hogan and just how much of a cockwomble he is. So, as if it wasn't bad enough, he then has the, like, we don't need a vaccine. This, for me, is alarming, because do you think this suggests that he's an anti-vaxxer? Do you think he goes out, he probably tells his kids, oh, if you take a vaccine, bro, what that means is you're getting pinned by the flu, bro. We don't want that. We want you to kick out at 1.5. You understand that? It's like, he's probably threatening his kids. Like, he's probably saying, like, I'll kick you out if you get a vaccine because it makes you seem weak. You know, this guy is wrestling through and through, isn't he? Like, wrestling is a scummy industry. We're not fucking stupid. We are privy to that fact. We know that to be true. Some of us have seen far more of it than we would like. I'm not going to go into stories, but I've seen some shit. And a lot of us have. And ultimately, history has taught us that, especially in Hulk Hogan's era, wrestlers were scum for the majority. And the ones who aren't scum, luckily, are still with us and still presenting themselves in the appropriate light. There are no good guys, really, in this business, especially from his era. And this is what happens when you put a guy on a pedestal. This, for me, truly is what happens when you say to somebody that you are essentially our god. Anyone who is a wrestling fan, particularly from the 80s and 90s, they would have looked upon this guy as some form of a god. And frankly, he's a massive, basketball-skinned, narcissistic lunatic who has probably got, at this point, not so much blood running through his veins as he does the roided remains of the 1980s. He is so out of touch, so ridiculous, and the racist thing was, I mean, that summed him up, really. We all know what kind of person. I mean, it's hilarious because he's fucking darker than most black people I've seen. Like, he's got the worst skin tone I've ever seen. An orange motherfucker. He looks like a sunburned bottle of Sunny Delight. It's fucking ridiculous, mate, that he would come out with this nonsense. But it is what it is. Hulk Hogan, isn't it? Him and Donald Trump, right, in this weird cult of prepubescent tangerines. I have no idea what's going on here, but it seems that in America, to be a megalomaniac, you gotta be orange, brother. It's so random. I could just see him and Vince and Donald Trump. When all these cunts go to hell, you know, if it exists, brother, but apparently it doesn't because he's worshipping Jesus' nuts off, we're all going to remember and we're all going to imagine them sitting around some big old round table having a discussion, and it is, well, it's one that beggars belief. But Hulk Hogan, do us all a favour, mate. Get off of social media, get off of the roids, go and get some therapy, and ultimately go and get some blood transfusion as well, because I'm a little bit concerned that at this point you're no longer a human being.
Do you think he considers his son's friend weak because he didn't survive the time his son wrapped a car around a pole? Do you think he just goes, "Oh, your friend didn't jump out at 2 there, brother. He obviously didn't eat his vitamins or say his prayers, brother."
That's as dark as it is hilarious. And do you know what? It would not surprise me. By the way, vitamins. What a bunch of placebo shit that is, right? Go and eat a fucking orange, or maybe not eat too many oranges because you might end up looking like Hulk Hogan, but eat a fucking apple or something, or a banana if you want vitamin C. It's like, oh, I take my vitamins, brother. That's probably your issue right there, mate. Those aren't vitamins. Those are amphetamines.
Maybe he just doesn't understand the word vitamins. Vitamins is obviously methamphetamine.
Or so Ultimate Warrior just came up to him in the locker room and was like, I've got a bag of the sorry, I can't do an Ultimate Warrior impression, but he just walked up to him with a bag, didn't he? And it was just like, here you go, have some vitamins. And he's like, oh yeah, vitamins, good stuff, brother. Thank you for that, thank you. Oh yeah, these vitamins go up your nose. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, that's good vitamins, brother.
It's like the episode of Family Guy when it's the 70s. It's the episode where Peter wants to like join the Renaissance fair and be like a Renaissance jouster, and he's like, one of his friends is like, "Here, Peter, have one of these," and he's like, "Is it a cheeseburger?" Yeah, of course it's a cheeseburger, and it's actually just a pill of LSD.
Oh, I remember that.
That's what this is. Of course, now I know it wasn't a cheeseburger, but back then I was ready to believe anything.
Hell fucking yeah, the quote machine strikes. What a way to end the State of Wrestling address. Just no. In so many ways, Hulk Hogan, no. Honestly, put a fucking lid on it, brother. It astounds me, but yeah, it is what it is. But I think that pretty much wraps it up. Anything you'd like to throw out there at the universe, the galaxy of WrestlePlug, before we end this hilarious podcast?
I did see something rounding the Twitters today. Apparently, why? Actually, I saw two things. One was the reason Rhea Ripley lost the NXT Women's Championship, and apparently it's because her work visa expired. Ooh. So she had to go back to, I believe it's either New Zealand or Australia. I don't want to mix it up, so I'm not going to. Yeah. So, and then obviously because she took the flight back, has to go quarantine and all that kind of stuff. So, all the best to her. I hope they sort that out real quick because she's a fucking star. And then the other one was apparently Goldberg had a bit of creative control on his contract, which, you know, because that worked really well for everyone in the 90s, didn't it? Oh, apparently, boy. At Super Showdown, The Fiend was supposed to win. He was supposed to retain and beat Goldberg, but old Bill went up to Vinnie Mac and went, I'm a superhero to kids, and if I lose to this monster, that'll destroy my character. So apparently at the 11th hour, the last moment, they're like, you know what? You're right, Bill. You're going to win.
What a fuck bag. What an absolute massive crusty fuck bag. Like, it just, but that doesn't really surprise. I did see a tweet about it, and you often wonder, you know, just how legitimate these sources are. And, you know, you can't obviously quote us on, and we don't know how secure that source is, but the nature of wrestling would suggest that that's probably true. It really would. Like, I've got no reason not to believe that's true because Goldberg, like so many other people, is an egomaniacal twat. I remember him coming out on the bump and some people said, you know, and he said like, oh, some people just don't get what I'm trying to do here. It's like, no, we get it. It's just you're not welcome anymore. That's what it is. What this guy is that overroided up guy who just turns up to your party unannounced that you just happen to know one time in school, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm mates with everybody, yeah, let me in the party, let me drink all your fucking beer and shit in your toilet and ultimately kick your dog and steal your television. That's the guy he is. You know, he's addicted to the money, innit? You can't say more than that. Goldberg has got a phone call for video. Oh, hey, Goldberg, you still on the rides? You still massive? Well, I've got money for you, about $2 million, that says you can shit all over this guy. Pointless. Utterly pointless. And the fact that he'll probably get more money than anyone else for his Mania payday is beyond infuriating. And also, apparently, I also heard there's a kind of attachment to that he suggested losing to Braun Strowman because he didn't want to do any more work in 2020 for wrestling. He's like, oh, I don't want to do any more dates, so I'll lose. Funny that, isn't it? Now that all the major pay-per-views and paydays are out of the way, this cunt doesn't want to know. Toss piece.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, Braun Strowman is known as the monster among men. Isn't the superhero still supposed to defeat the monster? No? Okay,
yeah, but that's a different kind of monster.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize he just wanted to crush the best character WWE's had in a very long time. It's cool. Good job, Bill. Fuck off, you twat.
It can't be. I can never understand these situations because if it is true, how is this beneficial? Like, I saw a lot of people like saying, and I was probably one who said that as well, that the reason they put the title on Goldberg was because, you know, they can garner more money at WrestleMania. Well, it doesn't fucking matter now, does it? Especially not now. And to be honest, when he won that title, COVID-19 was starting to kick in. It just wasn't, you know, we weren't just in lockdown mode at that point. It seemed to be, it was an issue for the Chinese, brother. Nobody cares about that. I'm going to kick out at 2. You know, it was one of those sort of things where, well, fuck it, it's in a foreign country. It doesn't affect us until it gets here. And then all of a sudden it's, you know, a world war pandemic. And I don't understand what could have been the benefit from doing this. Surely that's not going to be worth the spike in money. Surely not. And at this point, WWE is worth $6-7 billion. You can now, admittedly, probably because of decisions like this, like this, but I just don't see at any point where the benefit would have come from it. You know, sure, have Goldberg versus Bray Wyatt to hype your Saudi Arabia, fine. But, you know, if this is to be believed, and Goldberg went up to him and said, yeah, I'm not losing because that'll make me look shit. I would have said to Vince McMahon, right, if I was Vince McMahon, I would have said, right, I have no problem making you look strong and finding a way for him to get a dastardly victory or anything, but you do not fucking dictate to me when you do not win. So shut the fuck up, go out there, do the fucking job, make that guy look as good as possible, which I know is difficult for you whopping great fucking gorpazoid, because you can't fucking work for shit. Jesus Christ, I'm a better technical wrestler than that guy. It's embarrassing. So shut the fuck up, do your job, pick up your whopping great paycheck and fuck off home to your delicious amount of sports cars and be thankful for the obscene life that wrestling has afforded you. You absolute colossal cockwaffle. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. But yeah, that sums it up really. So yeah, we've pretty much annihilated the majority of WCW at this point, so should be a good giggle. Yeah, Carl Wilkinson, thanks for joining me for the State of Wrestling address. This has been one of my favourite ones in recent memory.
Well, thank you for having me. I didn't realize I was going to get so heated, but I didn't like Hogan in his heyday. To be fair, I wasn't alive in his heyday. And then watching back on it, I realized he was just a fucking asshole right from the go, wasn't he? Absolute piece of crap.
The only reason he's so defensive of Jesus is he's probably the last guy he did the job to. That's ultimately what it is. So, you know, Hulk Hogan be damned and everybody else involved that wants to be insensitive in such a difficult time. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed the State of Wrestling address. We try and blend a bit of humour with candid honesty, and we hope it applies to you. Don't forget, every Thursday or Friday we drop a State of Wrestling address to discuss the week's news topics. Like I say, if you want a more in-depth look at things like AEW and NXT from last night, then by all means check out our YouTube channel. That's where we have the majority of our reviews, but of course anything pay-per-view worthy or massive worthy like Mania or whatever is also available via the audio format, but we're trying to make sure that our podcast is available on every media format, whether that be YouTube, Spotify, Podbean, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find WrestlePlug. Look for that yellow and black brand, look for that little logo, and make sure you subscribe, because we don't plan on letting up on the content anytime soon. But for myself, Aaron X, and for Carl Wilkinson, thank you for joining us. Remember, use the hashtag #GetPluggedIn and also tag us at WrestlePlug across social media if you'd like to chat to us or suggest anything that you'd like to hear going forward on the podcast. But most importantly, I hope that this hour of podcasting has at least given you a bit of an escape from what is a rather torrid time for many of us. Take care, gang. Make sure to wash your hands, shut your ass, and most importantly, try and keep a smile on your faces.